part of that. And Loyal, we're thankful you're going to be preaching today. Welcome. Welcome him warmly.
Colby, that is incredibly kind of you. I don't know if this message is going to live up to half of that, but we shall see. So I was driving home from work the other day, and all I could think was just, man, how could I be such an idiot? Like, I was just trying to do something funny. It was supposed to be funny. So I'm this teacher and this IT support at this local Christian school that's housed inside of a church, right? And my supervisor is also IT support, and he's also a teacher. And so he made the mistake of giving me access to the server room. So that was mistake number one. Now, I know I'm not supposed to be messing around in the server. Like, I know that's the way it's supposed to work, but like, come on. I had this amazing idea. What if my supervisor walked into his classroom tomorrow morning, which, by the way, is a giant computer lab full of like 40 different computers, and what if every single computer's wallpaper had a giant picture of his face? It's going to be hilarious. He's going to laugh. I'm going to laugh. The students are going to laugh, and we're going to get a whole lot of much-needed stress relief in this very difficult profession. And so I go to the server, I type in the command, press enter, and I wait. And on that server, it has that really comforting message. It says, applied to all computers system-wide. Oh no. This has just been applied to every single computer, both in the school and the church. So now my head administrator is going to wake up tomorrow morning. The head of the school is going to wake up tomorrow morning. The head pastor of the church is going to wake up tomorrow morning. And they're all going to be greeted by a ginormous picture of Mr. Harrell's face. I'm so fired. Why did I think this was a good idea? Like, how could I be so stupid to do something I knew I wasn't supposed to do? Have you ever been to a place like that? Well, like you knew you weren't supposed to do something, but you kind of make this kind of like this thin veneer of an excuse to do what you actually wanted to do, and you kind of just bypass your feelings and your conscience focus so you could actually do that thing. Like maybe you promise to God, say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I'm going to read scripture. That's what we're going to do. Alarm goes off tomorrow morning and you're like, it's so early. I'm not going to have a good devotion. It's going to impact my work. It's just better off if we all sleep in, isn't it? Or maybe you're trying to really raise your kids well, and you get to this point and you're like, man, I know you're supposed to keep a level head and be this calm presence in their lives, but like, man, they push you right there, and you just snap. Or maybe you are a student here, and you know you're not supposed to use AI in your homework. Of course, not on your English homework, but come on, you've got like 70 extracurricular activities, and your history teacher just assigned like 3 chapters for tonight. What else are you going to do? Or maybe you're like me when I was in college, and you're lying on the concrete in the middle of a wintry night, and you're staring up the sky, and you're saying, God, there's no hope for me left. I was so convinced that if I moved from Virginia to Indiana, that would finally be the fresh start I needed to kick pornography for the last time, and it wasn't. Oh, it wasn't. You and I do follow God. We do. We trust him. So many of us trust him with our entire lives. We trust him so meaningfully and deeply. But then we do this stupid stuff, and we think, well, if God walked with me, if God was walking with me, if he had the Holy Spirit inside of me, I wouldn't be doing this. I'm just living a lie. I'm just playing Christian. So what do you do? What do you do when you do trust God? You do follow him. You are trying to seek after him. But there's just these certain parts of your life that tell a very different story. That's what we're looking at today with Abraham. Now keep in mind, Abraham has grown a lot since we met him like in January. This guy, so first of all, he's gone through a lot. God told him, you're going to go and you're going to just go to this place where I'll tell you. And so he learns to go, all right, sure, we'll do it. And he just picks up his entire camp, which is a pretty large mass, And he just goes wherever, right? And then he's doing this, and he learns with God, and he grows with God, and then he realizes that God tells him, he's like, look, I'm your shield. You can trust me. You can depend on me. And so he learns over much trial and tribulation, he learns that, and then he goes and defeats a 4-nation army single-handedly that not even 5 kings could thwart. And then he goes further and further, and he goes more trial, more tribulation, and then God teaches him, says, actually, there's going to be a nation that's going to come right through you, literally through the womb of your 90-year-old wife, Sarah. And he learns to trust that. He trusts that so deeply that not only does he let God change his name to Father of Nations, but he goes ahead and he gets his entire camp circumcised as a sign of the promise. Like, if you don't think that's an act of faith, you try doing that with your command officers. Like, make no bones about it. If any one of us in this room trusts God, Abraham does. And so that's why what he does here is just so crazy. Because there's this whole section of his life, this whole portion of life, that for 25 years has not been integrated with his faith. He's not integrated his faith into it. That's a long time. And so what we're going to see is this plight of Abraham, that because he hasn't integrated his faith in this part of his life, it's going to affect him, it's going to affect everyone, and it's going to do a lot of damage. But we're also going to see this guy named Abimelech, who's, I think Moses is painting as this contrast, this polar opposite of Abraham in this situation, integrating God's promise to Abraham better than Abraham is. And he shows how that not only prevents the pain that could come, but it also gives us full life. But then most importantly, we're going to see this God that no matter how badly we screw up, and no matter how badly we mess things up, he still sustains his people. Turn with me, if you would, to Genesis chapter 20. Genesis 2:0. It's 18 verses. We're going to read the whole thing. Genesis 20. And while you're turning there, I want to show you where we're going today. We're going with Abraham to this land called Gerar. If you can get to that picture slide, you don't have to show it, but it's this beautiful place. This beautiful. I mean, we're not 100% sure that it looks exactly like that. That's the exact location. But come on, it's like 3,000 years old, so give us a break. But it's really beautiful, isn't it? And I know that as you turn to this and as you start reading it, I know a lot of you, so many of you out here are such Bible geniuses, which gives me a lot of trepidation to be here in the first place. And some of you Bible geniuses are going to read this thing and be like, Loyal, are we in the right passage? Because this sounds like exactly what we heard in January. And another one of you Bible geniuses are so smart, you're going to telepathically beam a signal to that person, and you're going to be like, yeah, that's the point. This is exactly what happened 25 years ago with Pharaoh, and it's happening again because Abraham still hasn't resolved it. And there's hope for him, and there's hope for us. Let's have some deja vu. Genesis chapter 20. From there, Abraham journeyed toward the territory of the Negev, desert land, and lived between Kadesh and Shur. And he sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, behold, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. Now Abimelech had not approached her, so he said, Lord, will you kill an innocent people? Did he not himself say to me, she is my sister? And she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands I have done this. Then God said to him in the dream, yes, I know that you have done this in the integrity of your heart. And it was I who kept you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not let you touch her. Now then, return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, so that he will pray for you and you shall live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. So, Abimelech arose early in the morning and called all his servants and told them all these things. And the men were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? And how have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? You have done to me things that ought not to be done." And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What did you see that you did this thing?" Abraham said, "I did it because I thought, there is no fear of God at all in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Never mind, she's 90 years old. Besides, she is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, though not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. But when God caused me to wander from my father's house, I said to her, this is the kindness you must do me. At every place to which we come, say of me he's my brother." Great job, Abraham. That's going to do great at CC Debate Club. Then Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male servants and female servants and gave them to Abraham and returned Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, "Behold, my land is before you, dwell where it pleases you." To Sarah he said, "Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. It is a sign of your innocence in the eyes of all who are with you, and before everyone you are vindicated." Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, and also healed his wife and female slaves, so that they bore children. For the Lord had closed all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. These are God's words. Isn't this passage so much fun? Remember our main points. Integrate the promise of God who sustains you. Now let's look at Abraham and what's going on with Abraham in his life. I think what we can see from Abraham's life is that we all have deep, unintegrated sin that just hurts everyone. We do. We have deep, unintegrated sin that hurts everyone. Because of Abraham, the father of faith, this man of righteousness, this man who trusts God and walks with God so deeply, has this. And surely you and I do too, right? And it's not just like you can just get rid of it easily. I mean, like look at this. All the things that you think would try to get rid of this to keep him from sinning, they're happening here, and it's not working. In verse 1, you see he journeys to the territory of the Negev, this desert land. Last time Abraham was such a jerkwad to his wife, you know what happened here? He had just left the Negev. So maybe a change of scenery, maybe a change of place would help fix this and help him prevent him from doing this again. No, it doesn't stop him. It didn't stop me in college. That doesn't work. Then we see it's not just an external change that won't stop him. Not even internal change stops him. We see that, once again, remember, this man has grown a whole lot since we first met him for the past 25 years. And once again, remember, God has been walking with him every step of the way. And every step of the way for the past 25 years, since this happened first, he knew this was wrong. He knew it was wrong, and he still did it. So why, Abraham? Why? Why would he be so stupid? I've thought about this question way too much. And so we don't have time to get into all the details. If you have questions, please come to me afterwards. I'd love to talk about it. It's fun. But I really think what's going on here is that Abraham's just making this thin veneer of an excuse to kind of hide his fear of being killed by a king. And he's just making this excuse just to kind of do what he wants to do. And he doesn't, I think he actually believes it. I think he believes it because we'll actually see next week him actually make a pact with Abimelech to be 100% honest with him in everything. And if he was lying here, at least according to the text, he never clears this up. So I think he's trying to be honest. I think he actually kind of does believe this stuff, but he just doesn't realize how bad the arguments are until he actually has to use them in front of a person who is righteous and honest. Just look at it with me. Look at this. Starting in verse 9, we see Abimelech confront him. And he says, the first words out of Abimelech's mouth are, "What have you done?" Which, if coincidentally, or not coincidentally, are the same exact words that God told Adam when he was caught red-handed with the fruit. So this dude's caught. And we see it, but it's more than that. We see in like verse 10, like this man is hurt. Abimelech says to Abraham, he's like, what did you see that you did this thing? Like, if you check the translations, you can really see the emotion that's going on here. And I really encourage you for the next few verses, you gotta check the other translations, because there's just, as soon as you see this, you see that Abraham is squirming. This is not working out at all for him. I mean, check out verse 11. As he tries to explain this, in front of this man. He's like, at first he brings out his best, strongest argument. He's like, oh, yes, of course. I did it because I thought there's just absolutely no fear of God at all in this place. This place, again, check the translations. In this particular place, this place is the worst place ever. There's never been a place as godless as this place. I cannot believe it's so bad. I knew you were going to kill me, Abimelech, and take my wife, so I just had to do it. I just had to. I had no option. I was forced. But if you're Abimelech, you're not buying that for a second. not 1 second. You're like, oh, we're the worst nation in the world, yeah? We're so bad. We're so evil. We're so godless. Yeah, we certainly are. Oh, yeah, Abraham, can you tell me just one thing, just anything, one thing that I've done or my people have done that's worse than Sodom and Gomorrah? Oh, you do realize, Abraham, that you're not locked in here. You could leave at any time. Like, if you don't like us, you can just walk away. But instead of leaving, you decided to lie to me? You decided to lie to my face because you were afraid that I was gonna kill you? I was gonna commit the sin of murder just to avoid committing the sin of adultery? What? What are you thinking, Abraham? And so what do you do when you're caught? What do I do when I'm caught? We backpedal on a technicality. He's like, oh yeah, I didn't lie to you. That's not what happened here. Of course not. No. I was honest. I mean, she is my sister. That's true. I mean, she's the daughter of my father, not the daughter of my mother, and that lets me marry her and all that good stuff. But then I was honest. Oh, Abraham, you were so honest with me. Yes, you were so honest. Yeah. So when I specifically asked you, and when I specifically asked Sarah about your relationship, and you didn't bring this up once, and then I took Sarah as a wife, and you didn't stop me because I was under the assumption that you were just brother and sister. You thought you were acting in total innocence and total integrity. Yeah. Once again, Abraham, are you trying to get me killed? Or are you just so dumb you don't realize that marrying your stepsister makes her taken? What's going on, Abraham? And so his arguments are they just don't work. They don't work at all. They're just terrible arguments. But he tries to do the best he can, and he's taking out all the things that he's used to self-justify himself, and he's just trying to pull out whatever he has. He's like, well, I mean, this is my personal policy. This is what we always do. When God gave me this special circumstance where I'm just wandering and all this stuff, and so I had to take care of what I need to take care of, and so I've just made this rule, and we've all agreed to it, and that's just what we do, and we've always been this way. Oh, you've always been this way. Well, just a couple seconds ago, you just said that you did this because Gerar is the worst nation in the world. So tell me, Father Abraham, which one is it? Is Gerar the worst nation in the world and that's why you did this? Or do you just always do this everywhere and that's why you did this? You know, do you see this thin veneer of an excuse that even righteous people will make to excuse the things that we want to do? And it's not like it just affects Abraham. It doesn't just affect, this is affecting Abimelech. It's hurting Abimelech. Abimelech almost died because of this. Abimelech's family can't have children because of this. You know, and not only that, I mean, God's name itself is being dragged through the dirt because God is Abraham is God's representative on earth. And so just the fact that he's calling God and say like, oh, God, maybe do go out here and this is why I'm doing all this stuff. Like he's really tarnishing the name of his God. When I read this, what I think is, man, I need a person like Abimelech in my life. I need Abimelechs in my life to tell me, man, I need them to tell me, to look at my life and to hear what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, just so that I can check myself before I wreck myself, I guess. You know, I don't want to be in situations like that. And man, the amount of pain that can cause, just because I'm not being intentional to integrate the promises of my own God into my life. So that's what that is. I mean, and okay, We don't have time to get into this because it's really complicated, it's really dark, and it involves a lot of the dark systems that are part of my world right now. I guess the shortest way to say it is right now I'm kind of fighting to hold on to my vision, but to keep seeing. I mean, you can already see my vision's pretty bad, but I'm already trying to hold on to keep seeing, and I'm trying to do some things to make that happen. And there's been 1 or 2 nights when I've gone to bed and I'm like, and you're like the despair of the world kind of starts to set in, and you kind of feel the darkness of what you're up against. But then I thought, hold on, no. That's not how this works at all. There is a God out there. There's a God out there who loves me and who has a plan for me and who's been walking with me all this time to get here. And I know that he'll provide a place for me. I know he'll provide a way for me. He's going to see this through with me, and we're going to find a way through because he has a plan. And I can trust and I can rest in his plan. I can trust in his protection. I can trust in his sustaining me. I can believe that. And I can trust that. Can I tell you how freeing that is? Oh my goodness, I wish everyone had that. It is wonderful. And so when we talk about Abraham, what we're not saying is, oh, he needs to get good at life and stop sinning and all that, whatever. Like, what we're saying is, man, this guy's been just carrying this burden of fear and anxiety about kings trying to kill him for his wife. Like, he's been carrying that for 25 years. This burden he didn't need to have. He didn't need to have it because his God protects him. And if he just integrated, he would have found that out. What we're saying is, man, and I can't be the only person in this room that has burdens you don't need to carry. What we're saying is we can integrate the promise of God who sustains us. You can integrate the promise of God who sustains you. And so if Abraham is the picture of what not to do, let's look at Abimelech and how he handles the situation, and see what he does and how he makes sense of all this. And we see that what Abimelech does is he has this deep, immediate, holistic integration of Abraham's promise that both spares pain and gives life. This deep, immediate, holistic integration that spares pain and gives life. I mean, we say it is immediate. I mean, as soon as God speaks to Abimelech, did I say Abraham? As soon as God speaks to Abimelech, in verse 4, the first words out of Abimelech's mouth are, Lord. Like, that's the first thing. He's like, I know I'm king and all that, but like, you're speaking to me in a dream, like, okay, whatever you want, whatever we need to do, we're gonna make this happen. Like, you are master of everything. Let's just work this out. He's immediately trying to make to integrate his life. But you also see just how integrated he already is, like how whole of a person he already is. He is a man that, even by God's standards, is a man that's working by integrity and by innocence. You see, back in that time, you didn't really need to have Abraham's input, or even especially not Sarah's input. About all this. Like, he could have taken Sarah as his wife, and he could, as long as he pled ignorance, and as long as he technically didn't know that they were married, he would have been good to go. But no, he's a man of integrity and innocence. And he's like, I know, I gotta check, I gotta make sure this is right. I wanna make sure for my own self that this is the way it is. And so he goes not only to Abraham to check this, but he especially goes to Sarah to ask about this. He gets confirmation from her because even a person, Sarah, who doesn't have a lot of legal import in that day, because he wants to be consistent. He wants to be this person who puts all these things together and lives a whole innocent and integrity-full life. And we see that God honors that. God honors that wonderfully. He says, yes, I know that you've done this in the integrity of your heart. And he says, because of that, because you've done this in the integrity of your heart, that's why I kept you. I kept you from sinning against me. And so God says to him, like, yes, I know what you're doing is good, but I want to call you from here even to a further righteousness. And so that's what he does. He says, okay, now that you know what's going on here, I need you to go give Sarah back to Abraham, and so he can intercede for you, and you can live. And so that way we can all be whole here. Now, time out, loyal. You're telling me that Abraham, the dingus, is the guy who needs to intercede for Abimelech, the good guy. Why? Well, we could talk about how any sort of sin corrupts the earth, and we need to reconcile that and all those things. But I think what's really going on here in the text is Abraham's a prophet. He is a representative of God. He is his emissary. And so when Abimelech does anything against Abraham, whether knowing or not, he's got to reconcile that. He's got to make himself good with Abraham in order to be good with God. because if you offend a diplomat, you offend the nation that he represents, right? So that's what's happening here. Like, he needs to do this. He needs to make things right with Abraham and return Sarah. And he does that wonderfully. He does that incredibly. And look what he does. He does it immediately, he does it publicly, he does it privately, and he does it totally. Look, he does it immediately and publicly. So verses 8, he's like, he rises early in the morning. He rises at the crack of dawn, is probably a more literal way to say that. And then he says, and the first thing he does as soon as he gets up is he calls all of his servants. Like, can you imagine doing that? You realizing you made a mistake and you messed up, and you just, as the first thing you do, you just called everyone in your house. Hey, you, I messed up. Oh, all you people, all the people I work for, I messed up. I made a huge mistake. And that's the first thing you do? That's incredible. Why would he do that? Because he wants to be integrated. He wants his whole life to be consistent and clean and pure, and he wants to take this reality of this God that he just found and put it in every part of his life. Like, he wants this. He wants to be a whole, he doesn't want to be this fragmented person that has all these different pieces juggling around. He wants to be this whole person. And if that doesn't seem like a huge thing to you, I mean, once again, officers, you try doing that with your command. But if that is big, just see what he does with Abraham. Man, with Abraham in verses 9 and 10, and first he calls Abraham and he asks him, he's like, what are you doing? What happened here? How did this happen? How did we get in this situation? And how can we fix this? But then he goes to him and he tries to figure this out, and you know what Abraham does? We just heard what he does. He insults Abimelech to his face, calling his nation a completely godless nation, and then he just kind of gives these terrible excuses that don't even really work at all. And you know what Abimelech does to that? He's like, all right, Abraham, you think I'm so terrible? You think all this is just the way it has to be? Like, all right. Here's what we're going to do with you. Here's what we're going to do with you. Hold on a second. Father Abraham, who's calling me such a terrible person, here's a bunch of sheep. Here's a bunch of oxen. I don't know if you equivalent of Ford F-150s today, I don't know. Here's a bunch of contracts of some guys who will take care of the sheep and oxen and pretty much anything else you need for whenever, for like the rest of your life. Like, they're just yours now. We're paying for them. Also, we know how much land you take up, and because God's blessed you abundantly. So here's just a contract for just like as much land as you need, like 500 acres, like whatever. Like, you can have it. You know, Abimelech. Oh, I guess someone else is getting the land. Abimelech, you have a 16-mile wide tiny house of a nation. You can't afford to do any of that. Oh, by the way, almost forgot. Here's 1,000 pieces of silver. That's 25 pounds. This alone is more than a person makes in their entire lifetime. Like, that's crazy. This is like 168 years worth of work just right there. Like, again, Abimelech's nation is like a 16-mile wide tiny house. Like, he's just throwing out his entire royal treasury at this guy. Why would he do this? All he had to do was return Sarah. That's all he had to do. I mean, on one hand, yes, sure. Like in verse 18, it says that God closed all the wombs of the people of Abimelech, so he's not having kids right now. But again, all God said you had to do is just return Sarah and everything would be good to go. So what is all of this? It's because he's so stinking integrated. Like, he is such a whole person that as soon as he realizes there's a God out there, and he realizes there's a God who's powerful, and that's what's blessing Abraham and all this stuff, and that's why all this stuff is happening, he's already, because he's such a whole person, he's already thinking 5 steps ahead compared to all the rest of us. And he's thinking, well, if that God exists, well, then of course, then I can be investing everything I have into this God, because I know he's ticked off at me right now, but if I get this God on my side, this is the greatest opportunity our nation's ever had for flourishing. And you might think that's kind of out there, but we know this is what's happening because next week, we'll actually see him leverage this exact moment with Abraham. He'll say, Abraham, you know, I see how much God has blessed you and how he blesses you in everything you do. And you see how kind I've been to you. Promise me that you'll have that same kindness towards me. You see, he's investing, man. He's realizing there's this God that exists, and so I'm going to integrate that into every single part of my life, financially, with all my resources, with all the people who work under me, like everything. I'm putting financially, relationally, everything. I'm just putting all my chips. I'm putting all my chips onto God. Like, that's awesome. That is so cool. Like, I want to be like Abimelech here. Like, how do I become more like that? Especially in a county that is just so fragmented. I mean, like in America, and especially in this Brimstone County, where everything's so fast, it's just happening so quickly. Everything's fragmented by default. My work life is different from my church life, which is different from my home life and all these things. And even like my social media life is different from all those things. Like everything I'm doing is just these fragmented pieces of things. How do I get it so that like as soon as I'm with God, I realize, oh, I'm going to integrate this part of my life with you and that part of my life with you and all these different parts of my life. I can just give them all to you. I can trust you with all of them because I know what kind of God you are now. Like, that's what I want to do. I think what I need to do, I mean, I don't know what you need to, I need to move these stands. Sorry, guys. I think what I need to do is I need to just make time for quiet. I need to make time for silence, and maybe if it's a drive home, maybe that's even like praying. There's this prayer called the Examine, and 500 years ago, there's a Christian leader who said, you know, we need to pray this Examine thing because our lives are fragmented. We need to go we're going to take look at the different actions we live each day, and we need to say, like at lunchtime, I need to go and review my morning and just talk to God and say, hey, here's the things I did this morning. What are the things I can praise you for? What are the things that I want to integrate further into my relationship with you? And then just do that again at nighttime, because we're doing so many things. But if they need to do that back then, how much more do I need to do stuff like that now, right? And I know this can look like, wow, this requires a lot of faith. This requires a lot of trust in God. Abimelech just trusts God in ways that I never will. But I think he gives us the key to that too, you know? Because he says, it's not like he's just adding trust upon trust upon trust upon trust. He's just taking the same trust he has for God and applying it a bunch of different places. Like he said, I trust God with Sarah, and because I trust God with Sarah, I can trust God with our national treasury. I can trust God with my workers. I can trust God with my land. All these things, I can immediately trust Him with those things because I trust Him with this really important relationship that I'm giving this woman back, because I just trust Him in general. So, and again, you military folk, I am just astounded by how well you already trust God. I mean, you and your spouses, you guys are willing to willing to let your spouse go into battle, like with your life in your hands, and knowing that your life isn't in your hands, your life is in God's hands, and that He won't take you a moment sooner than He's ready. That is astounding levels of trust, right? And so all that Abimelech is doing is he's saying, well, let's just take that same trust. If I trust God there, then of course I can trust Him with things that are less consequential, like my finances, or the stress that I have at work, or this gnawing feeling that I'm just not a good enough parent. Of course I can trust Him with those things. We can integrate the promise of God who sustains us, and you can integrate the promise of God who sustains you. Not only does it spare from pain, but it gives this fuller life. Maybe you're here and you're thinking, well, Loyal, I'm not even at Abimelech right now. I'm still working on Abraham because, man, I've done stuff, dude, and I'm not sure that God's still following me. Like, it's happened over and over again. I don't know if there's hope for me. That's a very heavy feeling. I think may I suggest this, if I may, that God meets us where we're at, and He sustains His promised people. He meets us where we're at, and He sustains His promised people. Just look at Abimelech. Abimelech, like when God came to Abimelech, like the only way that Abimelech knew that God would speak to humans was through dreams. He didn't know that God could speak any other way. And so how does God come to Abimelech? Through a dream. And he didn't know that he was sinning. He had no clue. And he couldn't grope his way up to God. God had to come down to him and tell him what was going on so that he could live fruitfully, even righteous Abimelech. Right? So he meets us where we're at, but then he sustains his promised people. We see that with Abraham. With Abraham, we see this, again, this man has been doing the same thing for 25 years. He's been doing this. 25 years. And God has still, well, it may not feel like it right now, God was still walking with him every step of the way. And we can see that God was still walking with him every step of the way. We can see that he was walking with him right here and now. I mean, can you see the kinds of things that he was doing here? I mean, like, imagine what would happen if God didn't intervene here, right? What would happen if God didn't intervene? Like, this is, if Abimelech actually had relations with Sarah, right? The promised child would have still come. It would have been Isaac. Isaac would have been there, and we would never know who Isaac's father is. We would never know who Jacob's, Israel's father is. We would never know if Jesus was the promised fulfillment of the Abrahamic promise. We would never know that because we wouldn't know if he's the son of Abimelech or the son of Abraham. Like, if anything could screw up the promise of God, it would be this. But God will not let his promises be thwarted. He will not. And so he does all this stuff here. He approaches Abimelech in the night and he makes all this stuff happen. And this is why, I mean, in verse 18, this is why God prevented everyone from getting pregnant. In verse 18, he said he kept all the house of Abimelech from getting pregnant because he's like, well, if no one in the house of Abimelech is getting pregnant, then we can be certain that even if Abimelech did have relations with Sarah, it's like that child is not from Abimelech because no one's getting pregnant. So we know that, but we also know that he's intervening. He's talking with Abimelech, and he's using this righteous man. And so Abimelech gives what is called an oath offering to Abraham. Like, this oath offering, I mean, this is way excessive for any oath offering. This is just way out of bounds. But it still technically is. We see in the last couple verses, this is like verses 16. He gives this as a sign of your innocence. It's an oath offering. It means by you accepting this, Abraham, and you, Sarah, accepting this, like, this is a promise. We're all in agreement. Nothing happened between me and Sarah. So Abraham agrees, Abimelech agrees, Sarah agrees, the Bible agrees, everyone agrees, nothing happened. Right? Do you see the lengths that God is going through here? And you see at the very end, like, he still gets the promise. Like, at the very end, like, what happens? Well, Abraham gets a whole lot of land. He gets the promised nation. He gets a lot of resources, and he gets the promised nation through his son. And he also gets like this. He also ends up blessing Gerar, blessing this foreign nation. That all sounds like the Abrahamic promise to me, just happening whether he's trying or not. God fulfills his promises. So no matter what we do, we can't accidentally sin away God's promise. God meets us where we're at, and he sustains his promised people. So when you and I are crying up at the sky at a wintry night on the concrete, and you're thinking, man, God's gone from me. There's no hope. We can take hope and joy in the fact that God sustains us. He sustains you. We can integrate this promise of God, this promise that God sustains you. So that's our point. Integrate the promise of God who sustains you. I mean, maybe you're listening today and you think, oh, this intern is blowing smoke up my kilt. And so I don't know. But I mean, assuming that you do think this is actually at least half correct. Like, what does this mean to you? How does it impact you? How does Genesis 20 impact you? I mean, do you feel like, man, I'd like to take some time away and just make some silence so I can integrate my life more into God's promises and make every part of my life united with this promise of God that he has for me? Or maybe you want to be like me and try to find an Abimelech, find more Abimelechs in our lives and try to see, like, have people that maybe you go to your life group and you say, hey, I know you like me, I know you care about me. Can we just talk every now and then, every couple weeks, and I can tell you about the things I'm doing, and if you see anything that's off, would you commit to pointing it out and helping us work through this so I don't accidentally make a mistake I don't mean to make because I've made this thin veneer of an excuse that I've accidentally justified for myself because I forgot to integrate God's promises into my lives. Or maybe you're here for the first time and you're thinking, well, I'd like to have this promise. I think this is a pretty cool promise to have. And maybe I'd like to accept the promise of God for the first time. And that's wonderful. I mean, if you don't know how to do that, I'm sure that anyone you've seen on stage can help you with that. Or probably a lot of people around you too. Or maybe you just need to take joy. and take hope. The fact that no matter what you've done, because we seek after God, like because we accept the faith of Christ, because we accept this promise of God, because we're following after him, and because we've accepted his grace upon our lives, nothing we can do can destroy his promises to us. He sustains you. So, I know when I was when I was on the concrete, I thought that God had stopped sustaining me. I thought it was over. But now I know it's not. I mean, even with the stupid example with those wallpapers, right? Like, even with the wallpapers, like, for some reason, I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know what was going on, but for some reason, those wallpapers didn't apply. And so what should have been me getting fired turned into just a slap on the wrist and stay out of the server room, Loyal. And I think what's wonderful is that for some reason, God said, I have you put in this place to be a teacher to these people. And it is my plan, at least for that point, it seems he was communicating, this is my plan for you to be in this place at this time, and I'm sustaining you through it, no matter how stupid you are, you know. So, whether you're Abimelech or you're Abraham, integrate the promise of God who sustains you. Amen? Amen. As we move to a time of communion and the worship team comes back up, I just wanted to quickly remind you, as we take communion, stuff means stuff. Like, I'm sure you all are pretty aware of this, but the very act of taking communion, and that's what I love about it today, is that the very act of taking communion is a physical act, it's a physical declaration of, yes, we are spiritual sons of Abraham. We are accepting this promise of God. And we have accepted it physically, this promise that Jesus will sustain us for now and forevermore. And that's a wonderful thing. Now, if you don't have that promise, if you haven't accepted that yet, that's totally fine. Like, thank you for being here and for spending your Sunday morning with us, with a bunch of people who like to study the Bible, this ancient book thing, and like to talk about this God guy. Like, I really appreciate you being here. I just want to let you know that this is what's going on, because the very act of taking it is a declaration of what you believe. I don't want you to accidentally take it and then accidentally say something you don't mean. Right? I want you to be a person of integrity, a person who can be honest with yourself. And there's no judgment here. So, I mean, it's totally fine. Like, we just encourage you to let the elements pass, because we're all on this journey. We're all trying to figure this out together. And so that's totally fine. But for the rest of us, man, what a great way. What a great way to physically and tangibly integrate this promise of God who sustains us, yeah? Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for the example of Abraham. Thank you that you had mercy on him for 25 years as he learned to integrate this promise you gave him, this promise that we get to benefit from through Christ. Thank you that the fathers of the faith thank you that they're sinful people, and they give hope for us, who often don't even realize just the extent of our sin. Lord, thank you for the opportunities you give for us to integrate our faith, to avoid sin and harm, but instead experience life to the full as you made for us. And above all, Lord, thank you for your promise. Thank you that you sustain us. May we integrate your promise that sustains us through and through our lives, so that we may do your will and walk in your ways to the glory of your name. Amen.
Let's stand and sing together.